There are four fundamental kinds of Iron Core reporting. The first one, and the cheapest one, and very much a vital one, but the least glamorous one, is simply bearing witness. It means going to the press conference, going to the mayor's press conference and hearing what he has to say, showing up for the president's press conferences, covering the news in a kind of bearing witness fashion. That's very important, but that's just the start. The second, which takes more skill, more time, more reporter energy, and more commitment from owners, is following up, which means that you basically don't just take what the mayor said or his press release, but you go find out what really happened. You spend the energy and time and money and talent and skill and experience on people who have the capability of following up. And then if you move up that hierarchy one more step, you come to what I call explanatory journalism, which is what a lot of this healthcare reform reporting is all about. Efforts to try to investigate the reality of what's in the legislation and explain it in a way that makes it accessible. Takes time, takes talent, takes people who know what they're doing, takes an awful lot of commitment, financial and otherwise, of a newsroom's resources to do. But finally, we come to the one that's most expensive and probably the most vital one of all, and the one that people on all sides of the political spectrum recognize as essential. And it's that watchdog role of investigative journalism. Investigative journalism is very expensive because it's almost always done in opposition to something. It's done because in the face of people trying to keep you from knowing something. And that can take the form of hiding documents or simply being unwilling to talk or bringing a lawsuit or any number of other things that make it very difficult to find the kinds of information out that serve that investigative role that I think Americans in polls, even though they speak disparagingly of the press generally, recognize as essential to our government and to our society, because I think all of us know only too well that power needs watching, power in all its forms. What's happening to this Iron Core is, I think, exemplified well by what happened by something that happened just a few years ago. You may remember the story of Randy Duke Cunningham, who was a very powerful Republican ranking member of the Appropriations Committee from San Diego, California, and a thorough crook, a man who had been taking bribes, a man who had been doing things that were absolutely against the public interest in taking bribes and getting the appropriations mechanism completely fixed in favor of certain people and that kind of thing. Well, two reporters in the Washington bureau of the San Diego newspaper's news service began to do some looking into Randy Duke Cunningham, something that prompted him to denounce them, deny everything, and so forth. But they kept digging, and it cost them money, and it cost them time, and it cost them lawsuits and freedom of information filings and so forth. But they finally published the news about what he had been doing, and he is now in jail. He's out of office, he's disgraced, and he's in jail. Well, what's also happened in that, they won, by the way, Pulitzer Prizes and were recognized by my world as having done something quite important and extraordinary. Well, what's happened in just the last couple of years? That bureau no longer exists. It's gone. Those reporters are gone. The San Diego newspaper has changed hands and is now in the hands of people who probably would be extremely unlikely to pursue that kind of a story. That is what is happening to the Iron Core of news, and that's why I wrote a book that tries to raise the alarm and I consider it not a lament, but a call to arms about this, because this is something that affects all Americans and is important to all Americans.